earlier, we told you about the land supply that's expected to come on stream in the first half of next year. But have you wondered how the government knows what land to use and when? And even further back, how did Singapore's dense and diverse landscape come into being? Rachel Phua tells us how the land sales program began 50 years ago and how it could evolve in the future.
Even amid Singapore's cityscape, we sometimes see pockets of green spaces. Only a small billboard hints at us of what's to come, soon joining Singapore's glitzy skyline. But they don't sprout overnight. It's often through a method called the Government Land Sales Program, one of the ways developers can purchase their raw material. Whenever state land tenders are opened for sites the government has designated for development, developers bid for the land parcel, and usually the company with the highest bid wins the tender. Then they start building a new home or mall. According to the Urban Redevelopment Authority, the GLS program helps to support economic growth and stabilize the property market. For example, it might launch more sites if the government thinks the market is overheated. This is to increase pipeline supply and taper home prices. But one analyst says this might not be as effective as controlling demand through cooling measures.
Development is a long-term process. It takes about 4 to 5 years gestation period. GIS is a tool to increase supply, but may not be a direct way to regulate the price in the short to medium term. The most efficient and most direct way is through the demand restriction and also to impose transaction costs that will sort of like dampen a little bit on the demand pressure in the short to medium term.
URA says the GLS program also helps Singaporeans meet their aspirations with a choice to upgrade to a private home and to realize national planning objectives such as building new towns and decentralized business districts. Industry observers say that in general, the program has been a success at meeting these goals.
The Government Land Sale Program has fulfilled the economic role and also the missions to create jobs, to promote employment, and also to develop a financial hub kind of needs, and also to meet the future housing need and so on.
But there's a much longer planning process before any developments can take shape. Every 5 years, Singapore's master plan is refined. It lays out Singapore's land use strategies for the next 10 to 15 years, in line with the country's social and economic needs. That's also when the URA reviews the zoning type for each plot of land around the island and prepares some of the state land parcels to be sold in the future. URA says it works with various agencies such as the Tourism Board and Housing Development Board to decide the type of uses allowed. There are 2 land sales programs in Singapore. One is run by the Ministry of National Development. It sells land for developers to build homes, offices, malls, and even places of worship. The other program is run by JTC, which sells land for factories and warehouses. Under the schemes, only leasehold land is available. The Singapore Land Authority says this is due to the issue of land scarcity and to ensure that land can meet evolving social and economic needs. When the program started 50 years ago, it began by selling land to help develop the tourism industry. Sites for hotels, malls, and entertainment centers in areas such as Beach Road and Golden Mile were sold. Land sales in the late 1960s and early 70s also worked on creating a new business district at Shenton Way and redeveloping the central business district. In 1974, the sale of sites for condominiums began. Then, in the early 80s, to keep up with the pace of industrialization, more land for factories and warehouses was made available. When the 90s came, one focus was to create economic zones outside the financial district. Land in today's regional centers were put on the market. Efforts to decentralize economic activity continues today with the sale of commercial and hotel land parcels in Jurong Lake District and Paya Lebar Central. In 2004, the URA introduced a 2-envelope system for certain sites. This means developers have to submit both a design plan and their bid price for the site. The first land parcel launched under this system is where the Bugis Plus now sits. The mall's concept had to include spaces for entertainment users that range from cinemas to live show dinner theatres. And most recently, the bid for the Holland Village site launched in November will be based on its design as well. Industry observers say future land sales will have to take note of evolving issues such as the aging population.
I'm hoping that even for the retirement homes, village in elderly homes in Singapore, we can GLS could be used for that purpose, and one creative way maybe they can do that is by introducing a 2-envelope system or a fixed price tender.
The analysts foresee future land parcels to be launched in areas surrounding the upcoming MRT lines and the Tanjong Pagar terminal, which is set to relocate to Tuas. But that could take a while, given the complexities behind land planning. Singapore's small size means it needs to carefully decide how each parcel's use contributes to its dynamic landscape.